sure by now we all know what Fortnite is. I had known about it for the longest time, but I never actually played it until my friends basically forced me to download it and play with them. They wanted to play in squads, which is what it's called when you play in groups of 4. My 4 friends were Evan, Xavier, and Braxton. Evan was hands down the best player and basically the initiator of this group match. Xavier was the second best, then there was Braxton. Braxton only spoke on his headset when he was in trouble or needed help. Evan, Xavier, and I, on the other hand, just goofed around and talked the whole time. The two of them did their best to explain how to play to me over the headset. Anyway, none of this really matters. I'll skip ahead to the important part. Evan stopped talking, and there was a good 10 seconds of silence. Then, Evan, who was leading us from one point to another, stopped dead in his tracks. His character just stood still for a while. Xavier turned on his headset, sounding annoyed, telling Evan to move. His character still just stood in place, and Evan said nothing, but according to the screen, Evan's mic was making noise. Then I could hear background noise that seemed to be coming from Evan's mic. Xavier, Braxton, and I were all telling Evan to move or we'd ditch him. But we all dropped silent when a horrific, almost painfully loud screaming came from Evan's mic. It wasn't like he was screaming into the mic, it seemed like Evan was somewhere in the background of the room. Then, a door slammed shut in the background, and the 3 of us were left not knowing what to say or do. I told the 2 of them I'd call Evan immediately, and turned off the console. I tried calling him 5 times, he never picked up though, so I decided to drive over to his house, which was 2 minutes away. I got to his house and saw no cars in the driveway, but the front door was open and the lights were on throughout the house. I let myself in, screaming Evan's name. Evan screamed back from somewhere upstairs. I followed the sound of his voice right up to the loft bedroom, where I found him hiding under the bed. He told me to hide. I told him to get out from under the bed and tell me what happened. He said there was someone in his bedroom. He would speak in very limited sentences for the longest time, until he calmed down and would finally explain in detail. As Evan was playing Fortnite with us, he felt a tap under his bed. He pulled the cloth material that covered the sides of the bed up and looked under the bed, and saw a grown man hiding underneath. That's when he threw his headset on the bed and screamed as he backed into the corner. He says the man emerged from under the bed as Evan was still paralyzed in fear in the corner, screaming. Then the man walked straight out the bedroom door, and that was the last we ever saw of him. At that moment, he didn't know if the man was still in the house or not, so he called the cops, not knowing what else to do. When they showed up, we didn't know what to expect from them. 2 cops actually showed up. The male officer went inside of the house and looked around, while the female officer stayed with us outside with a small pocket notebook in her hand, writing down what Evan described to her. And just like that, the cops left. I stayed over Evan's house that night just to make him feel better. We all still play Fortnite together. I'm much better now.
Right now, test drive any new Hyundai and receive a $50.
I've never been a huge Fortnite person, but all my friends have been for a while. I always feel like I'm being left out when they're saying to jump on Fortnite and such. Yeah, I've played the game a few times and I get the gist of the gameplay and whatnot. I'm just not good at the game. So one Monday night, I hopped on the game and played alone just to practice. I did that over and over and over, until I started actually getting pretty decent at the game. Then I started to play the game with other players, not my friends, just random people online. I played a game of duos, meaning with one other person on my team. His gamer tag was BobRocket16 or something like that, with a few extra C's and E's or whatever. I didn't write it down. We lost the game, think we ranked like number 20. After the game was over, I got a personal message from the guy, saying he thought I was really good and that we should play again. It was weird because really I didn't play too well at all that game. Nevertheless, I played another game with him. This time he turned on his microphone and was trying to talk to me. I don't have a gaming microphone, so I couldn't talk back. I could only hear him through the TV speakers. Based on his tone and what he was saying, he seemed to be getting annoyed that I wasn't talking to him. I heard him say things like "put your mic on" and "stop being a faggot." Any thought of this guy being cool was gone at this point, and I thought he was just a straight up douche. I was gonna finish the game, but after that was it with this guy. He kept saying stuff, most of it incoherent simply because of my distance to the TV and the noise of the actual game itself. But then I heard him say my name. Not just my first name, my full name. When I heard this, I panicked and thought to myself, wait, is my real name displayed on my profile? But I realized, no, it couldn't be. The guy kept saying things over the mic, but I wasn't listening at this point. I went over to the console and turned it off in a panic. Just knowing that the sound of the guy's voice was gone now made me sigh in relief. I texted my friends and told them about it. They all seemed to think it was funny, typing their LOLs and LMAOs and whatnot. I put my phone down on the desk as I went on my laptop. The phone vibrated again. I expected it to be one of my friends, but it was an unknown number. The message was hi, and then my full name. I typed back, "Who is this?" The typing bubbles with the 3 dots came up for the longest time. I waited anxiously to see what this person was going to say. The message was, "Is this your address?" and then my actual address. I once again typed, "Who is this?" and then I lied and typed, "No, that isn't my address." The person never responded after that. I started accusing my friends of fucking with me. They all swore they had nothing to do with it though. Low-key, I didn't believe them, but I didn't bother feeding into it. I figured if it is them, the more reaction I give, the more kicks they get out of it. I went to bed ignoring my friends.